republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keep standing if you would, please. Doug's going to say the prayer for us.
Heavenly Father, as we come before you today, we thank you for your goodness, your graciousness, and your mercy that you so freely give to us. And today we thank you for America and the country that you put us in, Lord. And right now I just pray for our military. I pray that you will touch those soldiers who are in harm's way tonight, Lord, and protect them and keep them, bring them home to their loved ones, Lord. And Lord, I just pray right now that you will bless our country, Lord. We know that you have a plan for this country. We know that it's a good plan. And we know that we have not gone too far to come back to you, Lord. And Lord, I pray that this election will be one that you will lead, and that you will lead the mind and the hearts of the people and those who are in government, Lord. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So I want to make a couple announcements. First, through that door and just across the hallway through that door and the next door, there's bathrooms, men and women's, up this way into the gymnasium. Also through those doors, there's a water machine. It's got some different drinks and things like that, if anybody wants to go over there and get any of that stuff. And Mike's got an announcement.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to kind of start some things off here real quickly. I have just a small thing that I sent to Bob and to Jeff. I death scroll at night. I look things up, and so what I tell you, I believe to be actual facts. I believe it to be true, and I want you to hear that. Here's an article from Environment Magazine that says water is more valuable than oil. The corporation cashing in on America's drought. So, and well, you can if you're a car. And so this is just something so I can tell you what's happening here. So in Colorado, they have the Colorado River, and it flows just like we have the Wabash. And that river, a hedge fund came in and bought 2,000 acres around that river, and they installed wells because they have laws like we have, which they're entitled to the water. And there is no law that stops that, okay? So just want to be clear. And this company is foreign money. This is a foreign hedge fund. This is all foreign money. And if you want this article, see me afterwards and I'll forward it to you because I didn't write it. But we'll put it on Facebook as well. And that way you can look it up and refer to it. But the reality is that they bought this 2,000 acres. They started pumping the water, and that water's going to Phoenix and a new subdivision that they have down there, and to expand because Phoenix doesn't have the water. And so they're draining the Colorado River at this point on this 2,000 acres. And they made, I don't, because I don't have my glasses, I think they made $172 million or billion dollars or something in a very short period of time. And the hedge fund sold off the acreage and everything through legislation and what have you to the people in Phoenix, okay? And now it's a big deal, right? Down in Texas, there's another article about about the water down there, and they have a drought in Texas, and they're pumping the water, even though everyone had to go and quit using water and quit watering their lawns and all of these things. This company pumped more than they were supposed to, and nobody came back to them. Even though it was, you're only supposed to pump this much, they overpumped it. So, I mean, that's one of the issues, okay, that's really, really significant. And I just want to quote, in the state of Indiana, there is no law that says you can't pump the water out of your ground, okay? So there are wells, test wells that they've tested. We've had several meetings about that. And these things are uncontested. I don't know if any of you were at the meeting we had at the church, and the state was there. We've had the Attorney General in, and the IEDC, which is the Indiana Economic Development.
Corporation.
Yep, corporation, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's overseen by the government. There is no oversight and all the money coming into that, they don't have to tell you where it's coming from, or they don't have to disclose a thing, okay? And since I've been doing this, I've been painted with a brush that says that I'm anti, how do I say this right?
Yeah.
I'm against
Luddite.
Indiana going forward, right? And that is absolutely not true. What I'm against is, okay, personally, is I'm against them using this and doing these things without some future oversight. And I've had many conversations with many legislators, and I've discussed this with them. And the opinions on this is as varied as it is, but we're trying to get people that can that are in office, incumbents, you name it, and we're trying to make a difference, okay? So that's just one of the issues, and I would say that's one of the major issues here in the state of Indiana. And I brought Justin Pascal, he's here, he works for me. I asked him to run for county commissioner in Frankfort, Indiana, and so in Clinton County, and the water is the problem there as well. It's the same issue, same thing. So, and I'm just trying to get some people elected that can get in there and that can be on the inside that might be able to help make a difference, okay? So, and he's a nice young man, and that's all I know about him, right? I've known him for a long time, and he's a nice young man. He lives in Rossville. So, and I could go on forever about, I know most all of you, right? So, and I have nothing against anyone. So let me just make that clear. And Spencer Deary's not here tonight, is that correct? Okay, because I said he was a really nice young man, and I want to make sure that I say that again. He's a really nice young man. So we'll leave it at that. No, I'm not feeling guilty. You had the same meeting with him I did.
I know.
Okay.
So can I see a show of hands of candidates? Okay, good job. So we got 3 hours. Everybody wants to know what the format's going to be. We're going to start at the top and go down. And we invited Joe Biden and Trump.
You wandered around the parking lot.
The first one's being indicted, and the second one should be. So, is there any U.S. senators here? Governors. Did Jamie Rittenhour make it yet? Okay, she'll have to come up next. So next in line, we have the District 4, U.S. Representative District 4. Anybody?
I'm running for that position.
You ready? Are you the only one?
Well,
Not running.
right here, that's here, that's here.
Charles Bookwalter.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Thank you very much, sir.
We'll just have to watch.
Okay. I can tend to talk a little bit, so you're going to have to cut me off. If you,
Oh, yeah, I know.
all right. All right. Thank you, everybody, very much for being here this evening. I really appreciate it. Thanks to We the People for sponsoring this. So I have a lot of information online that you can find out about me and my background. So I'm not going to get into much of that tonight. I'll just tell you at the top that I'm a husband of 17 years and a father of 3 daughters. We homeschool our daughters. We homestead 30 acres. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. I own some commercial real estate in Clinton County and a fast casual restaurant there. I'm a former Green Beret with a Bronze Star, and the most important thing is I'm a follower of Christ. Yeah, amen. And so this is probably the 5th debate or forum in as many days that I've done. So I'm I don't need many notes because I've been doing this 5 times in like 5 days. But briefly, we've been running a full-time campaign since May 21st, and we've taken on some very strong positions on federal and state issues, and we've been fighting these issues at the ground level, attending commissioners' meetings all over the district. Because you notice when you go to commissioners' meetings, first, if you haven't gone to them, first of all, a lot of people don't go to them. And the second thing is, it's not uncommon. People don't want to stand up and speak at commissioners' meeting, a planning meeting, stuff like that. So you need someone there that's willing to speak on behalf of the people. So I've been going there and doing that a lot. And I think because I do that with others, we've been able to stop some of these projects that are happening all over the 4th District. And I like to inform people, not just in Tippecanoe County, because many of you know, when we found out about the LEAP project in Boone County, no one in Tippecanoe County knew anything about it. We were asking them already, where are you going to get the water? How's this going to happen, right? And then everyone got surprised with this. Most recently, I was in Fountain County because they're trying to do another solar project there. And it may not surprise you that one of the elected officials that's sitting there is a beneficiary of those federal subsidies in Fountain County. They and their family have contracts, and they're going to get a 40-year lease on their land and disrupt their neighbors, and everyone's mad about it. And they act like they don't know. It happened in Jasper County, and I testified up there. They stopped it. Boone County, we testified there. We got a moratorium on solar and wind in Boone County. So that's kind of what I've been doing, fighting these issues. We've done 50-plus town halls and speaking events. And if you look up on our website, you'll see I do a digital town hall every Thursday. Invite anybody to any of my town halls. You can ask any question you want. And I'm not afraid to take on those questions, as long as they're asked, politely, I guess. FEC filings just came out, and we outraised the incumbent Jim Baird for the 2nd consecutive quarter. And so I like to ask this question here. How many of you came here tonight because you're concerned about the borders and war and inflation and energy policy? Yeah, it's everybody. It's all of the above. And here's another question for you. How many of you would like to see a debate between myself and Jim Baird? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to put this much time and effort to it, and then these incumbents think that they can just run because they've been elected before, and they don't have to put any work or any effort into it. So I like to remind people, and it's something that I learned in corporate America before I had to leave because I wouldn't get vaccinated, but you got to do the job before you ask somebody for a vote or for a promotion or whatever. So we're out there doing the job we feel, which is meeting with the people. We've knocked on 25,000 doors and attending the meetings and fighting for issues that are so important to us. And it's frustrating because while we are doing this, Jim Baird last week voted for the $1.2 trillion, the Biden's $1.2 trillion spending bill, which encourages all the things that we're right here fighting against. It had green energy initiatives in it. It had abortion language in it. It had DEI stuff in it. It's a pork project. We know it. We're not dumb anymore. We're awake now. Everybody knows this is what they're doing. But yet he's doing that. Business as usual in Washington, D.C. So they're also debating a $60 billion package to go to Ukraine. Does anyone know how much President Trump asked to build a border wall? Does anyone know? $5 billion. So they're debating another $60 billion to go to Ukraine after already giving $165 billion heretofore to go to Ukraine. We're on the precipice of a war with Iran, another Middle East war. Another Middle East war that will starve us of blood and treasure. We'll get involved in another Middle East war for 20 years, and it'll be difficult to get out. You know what is frustrating to a person like me? After seeing multiple combat, war and combat myself, is that I learned from those things. Our congressman who served in Vietnam, and by the way, I'm talking about our congressman's record only. That's all I'm talking about. Jim Baird, I understand, is a nice man. But nice men and nice Republicans are not what we need in Washington, D.C. right now. We actually need, because the job, I think, folks, I hate to say it, but it's not that hard, okay? The difficult thing about that job is what? That's right. It's having a spine. It's having a spine to stand up to those that put so much pressure. And there's people in here that are elected, and they understand. And you have to have a spine. And you have to be here in your district doing debates and forums so that you can inform your constituency why you voted the way you did and why you're doing the things you did, why you're willing to let the government shut down and not vote for a $1.2 trillion spending bill. But I was saying it's frustrating because I learned those lessons in war. Apparently Jim Baird didn't, because he's voted for every single intervention that we've ever had since he's been in office. He encourages that. It's frustrating. He didn't learn from that. And we saw when we pulled out of Afghanistan what that looks like. It looked similar to our withdrawal from Vietnam. If you remember the pictures and the helicopters going in and pulling them off. Yet they don't learn this, or they do learn it, but they continue to vote for it for other reasons that we probably know what they are. They have to do with spending packages and giving money to special interests and lobbyists that pay their campaign funds. So being on okay, all right. I'm getting to wrap up. So am I going to be able to get questions? So I'll get a couple questions too. All right. But the fact is, Jim Baird also. This is important for everyone here. Jim Baird was a sponsor of the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act is why we have the LEAP project in Boone County, okay? That's a $50 billion project that they wanted to get there. So they started building the infrastructure in Boone County to have it there to be available for when that CHIPS Act was passed. Once the CHIPS Act was passed, there's 2 locations that are going for that microchip manufacturing company. And one of them is right there in Boone County. It only was made available by that CHIPS Act. Jim Baird is also the primary sponsor of House Resolution 4824. That's the Carbon Sequestration Collaboration Act. So again, as we're fighting these issues in our backyard, Jim Baird is giving the money to the government to give to companies so they can come into our backyard and pay off our politicians so they can go make our neighbors who own a little bit of land extremely wealthy. So I'd like to take some more questions, and thank you all for being here. I don't know if I get the questions or right now.
We'll do that.
Okay.
If you'll use this
Yep,
mic, that
yeah,
way,
of course.
use this out there. Here's one.
I'll make my answers really quick so I can take as many as I can.
Hey, Charles, Justin Pascal here. I saw something the other day on your Facebook that really interested me. You were talking about defunding the ATF.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you going to be able to gather support to get anything like that actually done?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of things, and I appreciate it because you gotta articulate these things when you talk about like defunding the Department of Education, the ATF, because people are like, oh, what would we do without the Department of Education? Well, remember the Department of Education is only 43 years old, so we just go back 43 years. ATF is the same thing. The ATF has moved around different agencies its entire life. So there's already a bill out there, and I think it's Chip Roy. I think he is the sponsor already that has a bill to defund the ATF. So I've asked a lot what my legislative agenda is. I would be a freshman congressman. I don't have a legislative agenda. I have a de-legislative agenda and an opportunity. And I had an opportunity to go work with some of these people like Thomas Massey, Chip Roy, the House Freedom Caucus that are already working on these. They just need, and they've said this, they just need us, the people, we the people, to send them reinforcements like me to go join them out there. So I wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel is my answer.
One more question.
Did Jim Baird vote for the legislation that made a federal registration act out of vaccine registrations?
So another issue that we've been fighting, I lost my whole career over this. And in 2021, Jim Baird is the co-sponsor of a Democrat bill called House Resolution 550. It's actually called the Immunization Infrastructure Act, and it gave $400 million. Think about it, in 2021, when people like me were standing up, I didn't mask my employees, I left my job in healthcare because I didn't want to get vaccinated, I didn't separate my chairs or anything like that in the restaurant. So I'm fighting back against the state. I testified against SB 4 because I didn't want the state involved in our health. Jim Baird is giving the CDC, who already the people are starting to question, $400 million to create a software infrastructure that tracks who gets vaccinated and who does not. It's called the Immunization Infrastructure Act, House Resolution 550. It was a Democrat bill. Most Republicans didn't vote for it. Jim Baird was the co-sponsor. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thank you
Very much.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Jamie Rittenauer here, running for governor. Let's bring her up real quick, and she'll get to talk with you, and then I'll
Okay.
take a couple of
Good.
questions after each one, right? So, Jamie, let's give her a round of applause. You want here or over here?
Where can you walk?
You can walk wherever you want.
Let's do that. I walk and talk, it's so much easier. Well, hi, everybody. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get to you guys for a while. I appreciate that you guys are educated voters. I appreciate that you're paying attention to what's going on. I'm the only candidate that's called to be here. You might wonder what that is. Scripturally speaking, a calling is when the Lord plucks somebody out of their life and says, you, do this now. I got that calling over 6 years ago. It was just a whisper in my heart, you're going to be the governor of the state of Indiana. Yes, it was weird. I thought it was weird. Just so you all know, something for a little perspective is that calling came in 2017 when there wasn't a whole lot going on that was, let's say, weird besides the news. 2017, the Eagles' wings were spread out. We were starting to see a lot in the conservative circles that looked good with President Trump in office. So I didn't really know what was going on because, as you guys know, biblically speaking, right, when callings take place, it's normally because there's something that's happening. And so I let it on the shelf, and then we went through COVID. COVID was quite a wake-up call. How many people knew that your government could tell you exactly what to do, when to do it, when to go in a grocery store and come out, when to put a mask on your face? I remember seeing children get on the bus and off the bus with masks on their faces. I mean, that didn't even fit their science. And so we went through COVID, and we learned what government could do. And then we also learned that we have a very quiet church.
Amen. Amen to that.
I speak Big C church. When we talk around at our dining room tables about what's going on, that's great. When we go to church on Sundays and we worship, that's great. But last time I checked, the Bible says that we're supposed to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world, the city on a hill. I wasn't seeing that in COVID. And so we're wondering what's happening in our nation right now. And so let me tell you what that is. If you don't know the Lord, by the way, I love Jesus. I speak Jesus. I really see it this way. If you don't know the Lord, fine. You sure as all get out probably get people that love the Lord into office because we're going to serve you. The other people that are in office right now are going to serve themselves and a global agenda. And that's happening here in Indiana. And so whether you know Jesus or not, which I'd be fool not to say that you should, because he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, but if you don't know him, he doesn't beg. He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's the gospel. What I'm here to tell you is that we're called, and we're called to serve you. And so what we found during COVID that there's a lot of government overreach. You understand that in District 4, it looks something like the government buying land at 5 times its amount. It looks like the government going into a LEAP project and ignoring reports on the quality and the quantity and the ways that that's going to affect residents. It looks like ignoring EPA regulations. It looks like a $1 billion pipeline. By the way, billions of dollars. When you put 2 of those together, that's $20 million per county in Indiana, and that's their fix. Government overreach, a big deal. So there's 3 things going on in the nation right now. 1, we're in a spiritual crisis. Okay, so biblically speaking, what that means is that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities. It is something that you should know because it's true. There's real evil. Secondly, we're having a moral crisis. Okay, so we've got a spiritual crisis, a moral crisis, and then lastly, we have a very intense debate between socialism and capitalism. In Indiana, that's tricky because that sounds a lot more like, wait, give me your tax dollars. Trust me, I'm going to spend billions of dollars bringing these companies in from all over the world. And trust me, Indiana, I'm going to make more money for you. But what they're not telling you is when they bring those billions of dollars, which don't think we're not paying for that too, but when they bring them in, what comes in with those companies? All of that woke ideology comes in with them. So you have a situation in the state of Indiana right now where you've got to decide the trajectory of the state. Which way do you want it to go? When I got the calling, it was activated after COVID. I was at Panera. I was praying it through. 2 people came up to me. One said, you have a love for the people. It's more than just your family, and you need to follow that love. The second time in Panera, a man walked up, out of the blue, by the way, we weren't in church, and just said to me, my friend, God bless you. She said, God bless you, Jesus is Lord. He said, he is the Lord, is the everlasting to everlasting. He asked her if she loved the Lord. She said, with all my heart. He turned to me for the first time. He pointed at me and he said, the people do not know how much the Father loves them. He gave his Son. Then he said, you have a calling on your life. It's calling for your future. You need to let your past go, walk in that calling, and allow the Lord to renew your mind that you might approve the pure and acceptable will of God. Here's the thing. I've done this for 2.5 years. I've been away from my family for 2.5 years. I have 5 children. 13, 11, 10, 9, and 4. I have 4 sons. If you think for 1 second that I'm playing around, I'm not playing around. Both of my parents served in the military. Both of them were chaplains. My dad was in the Persian Gulf War. I was the kid when my dad came home that uncontrollably cried because you stored up so much as a military brat. That's what they call us. Both of my parents were chaplains. When my parents got divorced, my mom actually went and got her master's in divinity, had her the age limit waived by Washington, D.C., and her retirement so she could serve in the military as a chaplain. So I come from a family of service. I know what it means, and I will tell you, one of the hardest things for me is to be on a debate stage and listen to these candidates lecture the beautiful people of the state of Indiana. What are you doing? If I have to listen to Mike Braun tell everybody to be like him one more time, we do not want to be like you, Mike. You know what I mean? That commercial, like Mike, no, we don't want to be like you. What we want is our freedom. And freedom is fragile. So you have to get involved, and you have to go past the first layer of involvement to an impactful involvement. It's very much what liberals do all the time. They can move like there's no tomorrow. Our team does the same. Just a little background. You guys know Indiana history probably. You know when Mitch Daniels got elected, right? We were around 2000, 2004. He gets elected, and then after that, you've got Mike Pence that comes after him. In the history of the state of Indiana in primaries, you're looking at about 500,000 people that normally vote. Okay, that's our history. When Mitch Daniels ran originally, he ran against Eric Miller. He was a Christian attorney at the time, loved the Lord. Okay, so under 500,000 at that time, and then when you get up to Mike Pence times, you're talking about 500,000 people. Holcomb, 500,000, right? Do you know what happened in 2016 when President Trump ran? And you had all those presidential candidates on the ballot in 2016. You know what happened? President Trump alone had 590,000 people vote for him in the primary. Okay, listen to it. Ted Cruz, over 400,000. What does that mean? It means when Hoosiers want to vote, they do. In the primary in 2016, we doubled our conservative turnout. Now, did you hear the Republican Party rejoicing over that? Anybody? Anybody hear the Republican Party running out and saying, oh, great, we have all these new people? Kind of like the debates, right? I'm not a person that touts race. I'm not raised that way. My dad's from inner city St. Louis, please. He's in the military. We don't play that game. But are you serious that I have voted as a Republican my entire life, and the Republican Party in the state of Indiana is not going to say, hey, look, we've got a black woman that's a candidate? That's not a race thing. That's a rejoicing thing. We rejoice in color. You know what that is? We rejoice. We don't shun it. We rejoice in it. It's beautiful. That's why we love it. So are you seriously going to pass up an opportunity to expand your oh so desired conservative beliefs? Right? Isn't that the point? Isn't it the point that we have these beliefs to share these beliefs? Isn't that the point? Are we all just sitting here in our homes and supposed to be like, oh yeah, this is what we believe, and we go in on Sunday and we believe this? No, 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 that's not it. We believe this is what is necessary for our nation. So every opportunity that we get to spread that idea, we take it. Unless you're here in Indiana and you're playing politics. Well, we're done with politics now because these are our families. So my team has worked for 2.5 years. We know how to win. We have 100,000 postcards that have gone out. We have 125,000 flyers that are going out right now. We're on WIBC radio. We've got all our commercials going out. We've been online, getting our online game together. If you want to know how to win, I'm about to tell you right now. Because I'm it. I might not be perfect, but this is what I can tell you. I am your best option. I'm just going to say that. It's true. Don't even care. They can line it up. They can stand beside me. No, no. I am the best option because I'm the only one up here that's not for myself and is 100% for you. That is your best option. And so the way that we do this is very simple. You have to tell everybody that you know. May 7th is our last day. You got to vote for Jamie Rittenauer. But watch this. This is where the Conservative Party goes wrong. It's not about this voice when you tell everybody you know. It's the next voice. Okay? This is where grassroots movements go wrong. They settle for the first voice conversation. So like everyone in this room that's super passionate, you go out and tell everybody you know, hey, everybody vote for Jamie Rittenauer. That's a typical grassroots movement, and you stop right there. This is how you win elections. Listen. You tell everyone you know to tell everyone they know. You must emphasize the last part. Tell everyone you know. That is how you move on the ground. President Trump did it. Barack Obama did it. Bernie Sanders did it. They don't follow the algorithms that everybody else is following. They follow the people. I didn't take millions of dollars because dollars don't have heartbeats. People do. We run on Indiana goodness. Do not be overcome with evil, but overcome with good. We're bringing education into our state. We want to be top three in the nation. K through 5, we're working with our teachers now. We want technology out, but we got people saying, hey, we've spent tax dollars on technology. Okay, let's work it out. Tell us what's going on because our scores are low, grievingly low. Not to mention, thank you, not to mention the fact that after K through 5 in 6th grade, we're going to bring in technology. You adopt a highway, adopt a classroom. We want the private sector coming into the 6th grade classroom and answering the question, how in your profession has AI technology innovation affected you? Why? Because our 6th graders have to prepare for the workforce to change in the next 10 years. I am not interested in catching Hoosiers up. I'm interested in preparing them for the future. There is a difference. Freshman year, we're bringing back trade 7th and 8th. Freshman year, we're asking a question, college, career, or calling. Not everyone's going to college. We're giving them vision statements. And then freshman year, senior year of high school, we want every single senior in the state of Indiana to graduate having completed an apprenticeship. I am telling you right now, it is about the next generation. We are here to stand for you. It's called overcoming with good. It's not just about do not be overcome with evil. That's a majority of conservatives. You got to cross the line and overcome with good. We've given you our information. We have tons of flyers in the back. I appreciate your time. If you guys have questions, happy to answer them. Thank you, guys.
Do we have a question for this young lady? Anyone? Please. Way in the back. Coming that way. I work out.
The debate is April 23rd, just so you guys know, and I will be there. And I'm turning 45 on that day. Go ahead, what's your question?
Just with my question, what's your stance on just sending like some of the National Guard down to the border and everything to help out with the migrants and everything coming across?
Sure, that's a really good question. It's a difficult question. The reason is because right now I don't know the threat level in the state of Indiana, okay? So when I get into office, they're going to tell me the threat level in the state of Indiana. If the threat level's high, it would not be wise of me to take everybody that's here protecting the state of Indiana, if you will, and take them all and put them at the border, right? Because my first concern is going to be Hoosiers, so it's a difficult question for me to answer. Am I opposed to helping at the border? I'm not opposed to that. I think that governors in the states need to work together because strong states are going to make a strong America. And so I'm good with helping as governors, but a difficult question to answer if I don't know the threat level. Is that a fair statement? Okay, thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Jamie, what's the threat level of the IEDC?
I'm totally fine getting rid of them. But not easy to do, right? Because it's in the code, right? You guys know that because you study. So Indiana code does speak of the IEDC. It is in there, and it gives them broad powers. Are we serious? So when did that get in there? I don't know, but we're going to find that out. So it is not as simple as us being able to just get rid of it. I am the person that gets to select the people that go on the board, so obviously I select people that are okay with drying it up a bit, if not at all of it. We know right now that we want to have our focus on 92 counties. We know that we want to shrink government, not make it larger. That's the goal, you guys. I'm going to work hard to do that for you. Every Tuesday in my administration, we will have a news conference, local press in the front, national press in the back. We will report to you the bills that make it to committee, the bills that don't make it to committee, the people that are voting for those bills. We'll give an opportunity for them to talk to you about what they've done. And if they won't talk to you, we'll put their pictures up on the stage so that you can see who they are. We are talking about true transparency and engagement. We are not playing around.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. So I'm gonna have to do this, so everybody knows this. I know a lot of people here, and so I know Miss Nagel, Mr. Commons. I know his father-in-law back there, wherever, I see him somewhere. There he is, looking good, man. This guy can fish like nobody, this guy. So, and Sharon and her husband, they own Wolf's Chocolates. They're right next to my business in Attica, and this young man, he's a school teacher, and anyway, here's the thing. One of you guys are next, so somebody call it who goes first. Tails it is. So Sharon will go first, and you go second.
Actually, I kind of like going first. Hi, everybody. Sharon Nagel here. Been your state representative for some of you for 12 years now. Little background for me. I'm owner of Wolf's Candies for the last 28 years. Also owner of Wolf's Frozen Ice Cream for the last 26 years, which hopefully is opening up next week on Thursday. Working on that right now. Raised both our kids in Attica, Indiana. Our children now are 36 and 32. Have 4 grandchildren. Our son just got back from the Middle East. My opponent and I, Matt and I, have something in common in that sense that he served in the military, and our son's been serving in the military. Our son flies the A-10, so the Warthog, which helped protect him when he was on the ground. So there's a synergy. We have good conversation about that. So proud that he is safe, though, and of course, really concerned about our. Oh, there's my daughter. Sorry, I thought I had it on vibrate. Anyways, jump to the meat of everything. I have enjoyed being a public servant. I was a clerk treasurer for 9 years, and now as a state representative for 12. All throughout that time, I have also volunteered, mostly as a treasurer, because I'm a finance major. I have an undergraduate and a master's in finance. And I've always wanted to give back to my communities. And so how I ended up being a state rep, it wasn't anything I sought out. I actually had somebody come to me and suggest it because of my experience as a clerk treasurer and because of all of the things that I volunteered for over my life. And that's what I do. That's what I like to do. So just to give you an example of, this week I solved somebody's hole that didn't get filled after a road getting repaired. I solved somebody that got overspray in their backyard from a aerial flight. I'm dealing with, several different DCS issues. I mean, as a state rep, I mean, not only do you actually pass policy, but you also help people deal with the bureaucracy that we have to deal with. And, you feel satisfied that you're able to do that in many of these cases, because it is frustrating for the average citizen to deal with some of these bureaucratic agencies. And so I feel that that's a neat role that we can do as state legislators and help on that. Legislation that I've worked on over the years, it's been quite a menagerie of things. Women's health, utility issues, criminal justice, AI, rape, you name it. I've worked on a lot of different issues. And I tend to focus more on utilities and criminal code because those are the committees that I'm on. When it comes to breast cancer. We just work on so many different subject materials that it's great. I mean, because you really get a tremendous education on all those different areas. Now, obviously, the big issue for all of us that we're terribly concerned about is this LEAP pipeline. Well, bottom line, it makes no sense. We all get that here. That it makes no sense. I describe it to people as like trying to put a nuclear power plant in a desert. Why would you do it? It makes no sense. So a chip plant in Boone County makes no sense. You don't favor one region over another region, and that's pretty much what the pipeline would be doing, and that, to me, is unacceptable. Now, how do you go about this policy-wise to convince your colleagues that we need to figure out how to stop this? Well, there's no such legislation to write, stop this. What you can do, though, is create an environment in which nobody wants to do it because you can't justify it. And that's the bill that I filed. Now, did it get a hearing? No. Why did it not get a hearing? Because the governor felt very strongly that we put a pause in place and that no legislation was really required. Nor did the commissioner of the DNR, nor did several leaders. It's unfortunate. But what we did get across was that a pause had to happen, and that did happen. And the second thing we got across was that we are not going to stop. We are going to continue pushing hard on legislation. Indiana is what we call an absolute dominion law state when it comes to water. So as was described by my friend Mike Alsop, is that we have no real rules. We have emergency regulation. Whoever owns the land has the biggest straw, can take the most unless you create an emergency. It's ridiculous, really. What we really need to switch over to is what we call reasonable use laws. And that's what I'm going to continue working on. This summer, we have a lot of opportunity to work on policy. I asked for a summer study, not just myself, but Senator Deary did too, specifically listing out the issues that we want discussed in a summer study. Going into next session, it is going to be critical to get that legislation heard, but the impediment we had this last session is the governor. And that is where the change has to happen. It is critical that we have a governor that understands that we need statewide water policy. Water is now the new gold. We all know that now. I mean, it's quite clear. We have to make this change. So that'll be my focus. I have personally taken this on. I worked hard to try to at least get a little language in there to help protect farmers when it comes to the investment they've made on their irrigation systems. That got shut down by the governor. I actually got pulled into the principal's office on that one. We were really close. We had the target bill. It had to be germane. I had everything in place, and at the last minute, it got pulled on us. Very frustrating. But again, the pause is in place. There's no dollars available for this. The next session is budget year. That's when it could potentially get put in there, and I will fight like hell to make sure that it's not in there. I also know that we have the treasurer of the state that also sits on that board, the IFA board. There's a lot of different tentacles that we can work to try to prevent this from happening. Bottom line is what's right is not to move the water in this manner. And we have to figure out how to best navigate it and how do I get at least 50 more colleagues of mine to agree with me and to support me on this, and to make sure that we get a hearing by the chair. So those are all the obstacles. It's just not as simple as filing a bill. And as I told you in previous meetings that we were at, that listen, I'm not going to write you a love story on this and tell you that yes, I can stop it. What I can do is fight like hell, and that's what I'll do. Couple other issues. Am I getting close on time? I have to wrap it up, but I'll look forward to any questions. So let's go with questions.
Okay, hang on. You have one? Okay, Bob. Trump's.
So Sharon, when we had our first meeting out to church, you were rah, 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 we're gonna stop this thing. And then after that, the next meeting we had that you were at, we can't stop it, but we're gonna slow it down. I think you remember saying that?
I do, and
Okay.
good reason for it.
So then what happened is then we came up with this bill, Spencer, Deary, and yourself. It said 10 million gallons was in your bill,
Anything above 10 million gallons moving.
but it up to 10 million.
No, not up to. Anything over 10 million. So we didn't want to capture smaller wells.
But they could pump 10 million.
So the way the bill was written is anything above 10 million had to go through this process that we prescribed in this
Right.
bill.
So you're allowing though 10, up to 10 million.
Up to 10
The
million.
scenario is though,
They were talking 100.
nobody has, no hydrologist has ever told you guys that that aquifer can sustain 10 million gallons of draw.
So-
And nobody's ever said, no, there's no studies. If you talk to the hydrologist, they're telling you that's a 10-year study. Anybody that's deep in the street in that. And so the other thing is
there a
you're like
question?
third, you're like third in line.
Ask me your question.
Yeah.
Because you're preaching to me. Ask me your question.
So you're like third in line, and they wouldn't even listen to your bill. Even though I'm telling you, I didn't want your bill.
Well, in the House, I am third in line. Let's make
That's
that
right.
straight. So I understand. So let me first explain to you is that, yes, I want to stop this. And so the idea was to get a bill in there that could be heard, that we could add additional language to. Listen, it's a game, in a sense.
We're
Trying to
not-
get any. Well,
we don't.
Well, no, I understand it's not a game to you. It's not a game to me, but it's a game in the sense that you are trying to get your bill heard. And
That's what we're trying to do, is vote out the gamers.
If you can't get your bill heard, then you're not going anywhere, and that's kind of the key. So we started with a base, so to speak. We did the 10 million because that is where the water companies. We were trying to keep the water companies from going crazy on us. They did anyways, but that was the idea. Is why we did that. That's why we picked that number.
Isn't that like shutting the barn door after the horse already got out? Because what I'm saying is nobody can tell us that these 10 million, these 15 million, and we're talking a day in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, it's
And
typical
no,
what water
you-
companies.
You've got to have a convincing hydrologist study before you can take our water.
Well, I agree, and in my bill, it had to have 2 studies. It had to be peer reviewed. I don't know if did you read my bill?
I did.
Okay, well, obviously you didn't get the part that it was above 10 million.
Well, I did. I'm not that good a reader, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, and it also, I mean, it set up,
Graduated from high school.
well, it set up a permitting process. It had to have 2 studies, and it had monitoring, it had to have limits. I mean, it was a place to start. It was our placeholder. And we couldn't even get a hearing because the governor didn't want it, the DNR didn't want it, and several leaders didn't want it. Yeah.
But we're trying to pass a bill that has no volume to it.
Okay, we got to move this forward here. So thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
Mine will be quicker than Tammy's.
Okay, I just need a quick question.
It's a quick question.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of us looked at the IEDC when this was being formed and thought there were problems, right? You've been here for 12 years. I would just like to know what your voting record in funding them or defunding them has been, because
Sure, I'd be happy to tell you. It's
Yeah.
a short question, so let me give you a good answer to this. So the IEDC, when it was first developed, that was back in Mitch Daniels' days. And there was kind of a set criteria on how it was to operate. So within that operation, it did quite well for a while. Okay, well, again, I wasn't there when Mitch Daniels created, okay? So it still does have some programs that work well for rural, such as the READY program. And we have some funding that is really important for my rural communities. You don't know what the READY program, well, okay. Okay, well, I can tell you that Fountain County really needs those kind of dollars to flow to it, to help it on economic development, to help for housing, to help for infrastructure. Those dollars are important for our smaller communities. So there are some projects that I think that are very important with an IEDC. Again, the governor sits on that board and chooses those board members. So there's a tremendous amount of control at the governor level. I don't think elimination of the IEDC is the solution. I think tailoring it back and defining it back to more specific criteria and what it can accomplish and what it can do and how those dollars should be spent and more accountability. And yes, I have voted for the budgets, and yes, it's inside the budget, but I will remind you that whenever the IEDC is ready to spend that money, it's an appropriation. It's not like, boom, you get the money. It's not how government funding works. It's fund accounting. So they have to go in front of the budget committee and they have to justify, in theory, the money that they're asking for. I know I have some issues with that, of course, at this point. I mean, a lot's been thrown at us now on what the problems are and which ways we should probably solve it. There was a bill that was filed by Senator Buchanan, actually, to put some control measures on the IEDC, and it wasn't going to it didn't get heard over in the House side, and that was frustrating. It should have been heard. It didn't get heard. Again, there is a lot of pressure from top down within state government, and that's what creates a lot of these bottlenecks.
And that's why we, the people,
It's your governor.
right?
It just is.
We could take a lot of questions here, but 2 per person, and we got to keep it going. And thank you for doing such a great job. Yes, Tess, thank you. Mr. Commons here, and then if they're going to be here afterwards, please ask them all the questions. This is what this is about, right? So.
I like to walk. My name's Matt Commons. I'm running for Indiana's House District 13, which covers all or part of 8 different counties. It goes all the way up to Newton, Jasper, all the way down to southern Fountain County, wraps to the north side of West Lafayette, and then the south side of town here. I'm from Warren County. I grew up there. I lived there with my wife, Alyssa, and 2 sons, Casey and Broden. My wife's a saint. This takes a lot of time, but I'm passionate about making a difference. I graduated from Seeger High School in 2009. Once I graduated and enlisted in the U.S. Army, I was stationed with the 82nd Airborne Division in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It's still named Fort Bragg, North Carolina to me. I did 2 tours of duty with the 82nd to southern Afghanistan. On my second deployment, I stepped on an IED, resulting in loss of part of my right leg. During that time, I learned a lot about leadership and perseverance. I learned from good leaders. I learned from bad leaders. I learned how to overcome personal obstacles. When life throws stuff at you, you got to figure out how to get over it. And I think that makes me a good fit for this job. Why I'm running, I think we need to make a change in the State House. We need to make a change with the governor, but we need to make a change in the Indiana legislature as well. During my campaign, a big focus, currently I serve on the Warren County Council. I'm on my 2nd term. I was elected in 2018. I've worked a lot with John Comer, who's a Warren County Commissioner as well. He's also a good mentor of mine. He was my teacher, and then is now my campaign chairman. Currently, I work at Seeger High School. I teach government and econ. I've coached football. I've coached track. And I love working and living in the community that I have the privilege to teach in. But throughout my campaign, local control has been very much at the forefront of what we're concerned about in Warren County, but also across this district. In Tippecanoe County, it's the LEAP district, but if you get out to Warren County and Benton County and Newton County, we're really concerned about carbon sequestration, carbon capture systems. The Indiana legislature has continued to go along with the federal government and Biden's Green New Deal and push that down our throats in rural Indiana. And we're not okay with it, and we're fighting back as hard as we can. these multi-billion-dollar industries that are federally subsidized with your tax dollars are seeking to sue Warren County currently. Loud bark, little bite right now, but doesn't mean it doesn't have merit to it. As your next state representative here in District 13, the things I will prioritize. Number one, we need to completely restructure the IEDC. We need to, starting with the fact that we need to close its office in China. It does have an office in Beijing, and it needs to be shut down. You know, we can stop we can stop Chinese companies from buying farm ground, but our IEDC has an office in China. Let that sink in. Two, it needs to disclose its land purchases in communities like Boone County, Tippecanoe County, or across the state. It's not working for most of Indiana. It's working for, you know, down there in Indianapolis, around the Oval, and the communities that surround the Oval, and some of those communities aren't real happy with what's going on in their own communities. It needs to be transparent. It needs to have, with those land disclosures, but also needs to be accountable, and it needs to have legislative oversight. Number two, we need to go back and amend the Indiana code that's allowed, it's completely taken local control away from our commissioners to be able to say no to carbon sequestration projects. I'm not okay with Biden's Green New Deal, and I'm sure most of you aren't. Three, we need to impose term limits on our state legislature, but also, and it starts at the state level, and then we need to impose it on the federal legislature. Four, coming from Warren County, we worked really hard to get rural internet out to our communities. It's important for us as teachers, it's important for farmers, it's important for local business owners. I've talked to a lot of business owners, and that's got to continue to happen. As the IEDC hands out ready grants that we have to buy into at Warren County, hundreds of thousands of dollars, they buy farm ground in Boone County for $125 million plus. I'm sure it's more than that, but that was the last time I checked it. While Warren County, Fountain County, Benton County, Newton County, and Jasper County have to fight, and Tippecanoe County have to fight for every dollar that comes in. It doesn't work for us. It works for the multi-billion-dollar corporations, and that's socialism, not capitalism. And five, I think we need to address the teacher shortage across the state of Indiana to make sure we're attracting and retaining good quality teachers that work in our state, so our kids can get properly educated the right way. So I'm Matt Commons. I hope to earn your vote on or before May 7th.
Hey, thank you,
questions.
Two questions. Okay, there's one.
I've heard you say it before, Matt, about bringing internet. I've heard you say before about bringing internet to local communities, but just how is that when you know difference between free markets and socialism? How does that not get out of control, and how is that not using government and federal? Because in my estimation, the internet's so great that a private company, if given a free market, would provide internet all over, and we don't need the internet in every corner of the world. And so, you know, how do you?
I can relay your question back.
Yeah, how can you justify that?
Yeah, so the question is difference between free markets and my opinion on rural internet. I don't disagree. You have to provide some unique solutions, but COVID taught us, especially in the classroom, is, you know, we unnecessarily shut down. That, you know, it's more of a need than what we expect. It is important to local business owners. Coming from Warren County and working for the past 3 years to bring in internet to our community, it's not easy. Companies like AT&T do nothing but try to stand in our way. You know, they'll, you know, take our county dollars and then just provide the same level of service. It's because they're a major player at the state level. You know, they put a lot of money into lobbying, and that's the hurdle we've tried to overcome over and over again. And they don't want to come into, you know, their cost is high, I understand that. But at this point, you know, us in rural Indiana, you drive out to Rainsville, you know, it's pretty, you know, it's not easy for a company to go in there. There's not a lot of people, and they don't want to come into our community.
What about hang on, internet?
We got a question back here.
Yes, sir.
IEDC appears to act like government when they want to throw their weight around and private when they don't want to answer questions. So my question is, are they allowed by any law or whatever to use eminent domain to force people off their property?
Not as far as I'm aware, but I'm not brushed up on all of that. I know when I was talking about carbon sequestration earlier, there's a 70-30 law. You know, that's not IEDC necessarily. It is kind of tied to a hydrogen hub up northern Indiana. So if you get down, you start trickling things down some of their projects, eminent domain is a threat. But with the IEDC, you know, individually with what you just asked, I don't know enough about that law to comment on it.
Thank you, young man. Appreciate your time. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so in the essence of time, because this is going a lot longer, we're going to hold the questions, and then when these folks are done, then you can grab them afterwards. I'm doing the best I can here, okay? Hopefully no one's upset about that. Just have to change the rules. Let's do some, who next, Bob? Commissioners? State reps, right here. State reps, we got state reps right here. Okay. Hang on. Call it. Heads, it is heads. So we're going to, Joe, and then Jim, right? Joe Sturm.
There you go. Do your job.
Man, you thought you had me, didn't you? Nice.
Thank you to We the People for this opportunity to introduce ourselves. My name is Joe Sturm. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I'm the husband of one, father of 8, grandfather of 8 so far. I'm running for state representative, House District 41, and as delegate from Tippecanoe County District 5 for the state convention. When I joined the Navy, I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When I left the Navy, that oath was not rescinded, and I'm obligated to continue to fulfill it. Our federal and state constitutions are under attack and are being shredded and ignored by foreign and domestic enemies. I'm fulfilling my oath to defend our constitutions by running for state representative. I believe we have been underrepresented in House District 41 and in the adjacent House and Senate districts in this matter of unconstitutional foreign and domestic enemy takeover of water and agricultural resources in the area. The most egregious example of unconstitutional activity in this state is the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. The IEDC is a shadow government within state government, usurping constitutional powers, using taxpayer money to fund corporate agendas without transparency or accountability. It is central planning at its finest, reminiscent of the USSR and its rise to power in the 1960s. It is crony capitalism, forcing winners and losers. It is, at a minimum, socialism and should not be allowed in Indiana, and certainly not facilitated by a Republican supermajority in the General Assembly, according to our National Republican Party platform, which states, cronyism is inherent in the progressive vision of the administrative state. When government uses taxpayer funding and resources to give special advantage to private companies, it distorts the free market and erodes public trust in our political system. The lead project in Boone County is the pet project of the IEDC. As we know, the IEDC wants to withdraw massive volumes of water from Tippecanoe County and transfer it to Boone County to support chips manufacturing. In response to a survey conducted by the senator in Senate District 22, 92% of responders said they supported legislation to limit how much water can be taken from aquifers in the state, and 98% opposed the IEDC's plan to transfer up to 100 million gallons of water from Tippecanoe County to Boone County. In a less than robust response, Senate Bill 2249 and the identical House Bill 1305, both entitled Major Groundwater Withdrawal Facilities, were introduced in their respective chambers, but even with 5 prominent senators and 4 representatives as co-authors, there was no resolve or passion on their part to get either bill out of the committee and onto the floor for a vote, which is probably just as well since those were really softballs thrown into a hardball game and had no real teeth to stop the steal of water, and if passed may have actually facilitated an unsubstantiated claim to water. And to add salt to our wounds, The IEDC has created the Innovation Development District in West Lafayette to advance a South Korean chips manufacturer. We're surrounded by domestic and foreign enemies. But LEAP is not the only threat to natural resources in the region. Nefarious industrial companies funded by federal taxpayer money via the new Green Energy Deal and the Inflation Reduction Act are vying for agricultural lands for so-called wind and solar farms, which are not farms since they do not produce crops or livestock, but are really electrical power plants. The clamor in Carroll County is against industrial wind projects, and the best thing the incumbent senator from SD 22 could do was obtain a couple of liquor licenses for Delphi as his contribution to economic progress in that county. Clinton and Boone counties are being attacked by industrial solar project companies to acquire agricultural lands to install their version of electrical power plants. As already mentioned, Tippecanoe County is a target to steal massive amounts of water, but the incumbent in House District 41 is more concerned about water cremation than he is about water preservation. I am not a single issue candidate, nor am I against progress. Let the free enterprise system and local citizens determine what businesses operate in Indiana. As a legislator, I would encourage a collaborative effort of concerned citizen groups like Stop the Water Steal or Stop the Leak Pipeline or Boone County Marion Citizens for Responsible Development and other willing citizen groups to craft legislation to de-legislate and decommission the IEDC and shut it down. I will also do everything a legislator can do to defund the IEDC during the 2025 legislative budget year. This matter of the IEDC and new Green Deal energy corporate agendas such as carbon, wind, and solar projects is a real and present danger to Hoosiers throughout the state. A vote for Joe Sturm for state representative might just put a man in the state house who will fight to support and defend our constitutions against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Sturm. No one likes my jokes. I get it. Jim Shanky is here.
Jim Shank. I live on the unincorporated west side, just outside of 231 in West Lafayette, and that's by design, and I'll tell you in a moment about that. I'm glad that I got to go after Joe because he's going to save me a lot of time talking about what I know, what I believe, and what I would do when I join him in the House of Representatives. I should have run for this office 30 years ago, and I'm going to soon tell you why I didn't. Sheila Clinker recruited me to run for this office 20 years ago. And her former friend, Chris Campbell, is giving her a hard time about it, that Jim Haas finally convinced me to step up and do what Sheila asked me to do a few years ago. I was still a journalist in town trying to keep local politicians honest, and it was a difficult job, and it brought pain to me and to my family, which I may yet get into. 10 years ago, I was determined to run for this office, and that was after West Lafayette decided they were going to double the size of their city with a forced annexation of several cherry-picked neighborhoods west of 231 that would have added to their tax base without taxing their police and other services. We didn't want to be in West Lafayette, or we would have already lived in West Lafayette. We didn't want their taxes, we didn't want their codes, we didn't want a lot of what they had. They said, you can't fight City Hall. I said, hold my iced tea. And I took 30 years of experience as a journalist, as someone who started in politics and journalism in D.C., but came here and did it at the hometown level, organized, knocked on hundreds of doors, mobilized scores of people, talked to every politician in town, and wrote a letter to the editor, 700-word opus that made the mayor's life miserable. Within 2 weeks, no mas. He put his hands up, we're retreating. We heard from the public. We wanted to hear from the public. Thank you. Privately, he was over complaining to his motorcycle riding buddy, Mitch Daniels, who was my boss's boss. Within 5 minutes, my boss is in my office saying, "Did you write another letter to the editor?" I'm like, "Well, yes, I did." "Has it been published?" And I'm like, "Not yet." He goes, "Good, because if it gets published, you're fired. If you speak to the city council again on this issue, you are fired. You knock on doors anymore, get any more signatures, you're fired." Well, I won the battle, but my job was almost taken away from me, and they spent 2 years trying to take it away from me. They also told me I couldn't run for state rep. They told me I couldn't run for state delegate, that I couldn't run for township trustee. They shut me down because I ticked off John Dennis and Mitch Daniels. Well, they're going to be still ticked off, even more so, when I go with Joe and Mr. Commons to the House. I will take on either party, and just as I defended my neighborhood, I'm defending West Lafayette and the entire county against LEAP. If I wasn't running for this office, I'd still be leading that. And all these politicians like Mayor Gentry in Lebanon says, "Oh, it's not us, it's just what's IDC's doing," and then, well, the legislature, let them do what they're doing. Take it to the legislature. Well, I will take it to the legislature, and not with emails, with my voice on a daily basis, starting no later than January. When I was a kid, my two heroes were Joe Theismann and Ronald Reagan, and I was either going to be quarterback of the Washington Redskins or president of the United States. By the time I was an undersized quarterback in my senior year of high school, I realized I was not going to be Joe Theismann, but it wasn't until I met Joe Biden that I realized that I wasn't going to be Ronald Reagan, because I went to college in D.C. to study political science to be the next coming of Ronald Reagan. But I met so many politicians and interviewed them and covered, as a student journalist, the Biden campaign, which blew up because he lied about anything he could possibly lie about, including proven stuff, and plagiarized speeches. And when he got caught, he lied about it more, and everybody laughed him out of the campaign. I thought that was the last of him, but here we are. The person who got me out of politics was Fred Grandy. He's the gopher from Love Boat. He's a brilliant man, 4.0, magna cum laude and poli-sci. He went to D.C. to be people like you're talking to you right now. But when he got there, he told me something horrible. He says, "I don't sell my votes. I sell access because I need donations every day for 18 months at a time." Farmers in the lobby, I got 5 minutes until an ag committee meeting. I want to talk to my farmers, but the phone rings. I said, "No, hold the phone." "No," my aide says, "You don't understand. It's so-and-so, he gave $5,000 last cycle." So the last voice in my head before I go to ag committee is from an Archer Daniels executive and not from my local farmer. And this is the bad part. He says, "It's impossible to know that you're doing the right thing for the right reason." Well, at this point in my life, I know I will be doing the right thing for the right reason. And I've been defending my girls, two teenage, beautiful girls who are about to leave the nest for 18 years. And there's been a lot that I have to defend him against. And I don't know when he's going to give me the hook, but I've been guarding bathrooms in Target for years. I've been... My little girl, who's 105 pounds, who was all county as a runner in her freshman year, her boyfriend's 100 foot taller and 100 pounds heavier and 2 minutes faster, which means if they were on the same team, she'd be eating his dust, probably riding the bench, and if they played on the same soccer team, she'd be getting destroyed rather than going to college on a scholarship. And somebody mentioned teachers are a problem. I studied to be a teacher. That was my fallback. I was only supposed to be a year and move on, but I fell in love with a hometown gal and got married, and here I am. But I studied to be a social studies teacher at Purdue in the 90s. That was my fallback to keep me and support my family. I created a curriculum that I was supposed to take into my student teaching called America's Christian Heritage. And I had all the original writings from the Mayflower Fellows all the way up to Jefferson and Adams, and I worked it into my curriculum. They said, "You can't teach that in a classroom. That's indoctrination." And I said, "Baloney," and I'm taking it. I went to the dean to complain about it. They weren't going to put me in a classroom. I was too dangerous. So I go talk to the dean. And then the next thing I know, my professor comes in, "Oh, I heard you talk to the dean. How about next week you and I go talk to the dean about your plagiarism?" I didn't plagiarize, but that was a shot across the bow. You stay in this program, you will be done at this school, you will be done as a journalist, you'll never be a teacher, and you'll probably never study again. And that was going on 30 years ago, and the horror stories I can tell you with today's Purdue students about what they are being forced to regurgitate, what they're being trained to teach our kids is curdling. Lastly, I was at the Capitol on January 6th, It was one of the proudest moments of my day. You will hear that I'm an insurrectionist. No, I'm a patriot. I'm on the watchtower. I could tell you the details of how the national election was stolen, but if you don't believe me, I also know how 3,000 votes were cast illegally in this county in 2020 to determine which guy illegitimately won in our county. I can't talk about it. We don't have enough time, but I'm an election integrity guy. I am a self-local determination guy. The best government is the local government, the smallest government, the family.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other state representatives, U.S. representatives, anyone I'd miss? There we go. That should be Mike. Lieutenant Governor. Here we go, young man. It's all you.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. I'm not running for state rep, so when you said state
Yeah,
rep,
I'm
I was kinda
sorry.
like,
That's
I was like,
okay.
yeah,
No, go ahead.
Thanks. Well, hello, thank you, We the People, for this is an amazing event. You guys are doing great work here. My name is Micah Beckwith. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor in Indiana. It's a little bit unorthodox. I'll get to that in a second, but I'll explain why I'm doing that as well. But a little bit of my background, I'm a pastor. I'm a constitutional literacy teacher in Carmel. I also have a small business that I run. And I grew up in the ag world. My parents were a big part of the Michigan Dairy Association. Grandparents are farmers. And like Sharon here, I'm in the ice cream business. My dad created Moose Tracks ice cream. And so that's how we were in the, that's how. And I will leave you with that. Thank you for your support. All right. So I don't, yeah, that's all I had to say. Why don't I lead with that? I need to lead with that more. Yeah. It's either we love your dad or we hate your dad because he helped me put on way too much weight. So that was, anyway, all that to say, I've been in Indiana now since college. I went to school at Huntington University, majored in economics and business, and I really felt the call in 2016 to get involved. I had some students in my youth ministry that were coming to me and they were saying, you know, Pastor Micah, we believe that Marxism or that communism is the best form of governance that this world has to offer. And we believe that America should be a communist nation. And I said, where are you learning this? This is absolute stupidity. Where are you learning this? And guess where they said? School, right? Yeah, then it got to the point where I started having students in my ministry started coming to me and said, hey, I'm a boy, but gender is fluid. I can identify as whatever I want. I can be a girl if I want. If I'm a girl, I can be a boy if I want. Where did they? And I said, that's stupid. That's absolute stupid. Where are you learning this? And guess what they said? School. And so it was like the wake-up call for me where it was like the Lord was literally saying, Micah, get in the battle and fight, or else your children and children's children will not have the same liberties that you've had and you've been blessed with. And so that's what I did. I got involved. I was a delegate since 2016. I've been a part of the Indiana Republican Party. And then COVID happened. And as a pastor, it offended me to no ends when the government started telling people, you can't go to church, you're essential or non-essential, you have to put something into your body, an experimental drug that you may not want, but you do it or else you're going to get kicked out of the military, you're going to get kicked out of school, you're going to get kicked out of society. And so what I did, I was one of the very few pastors in Indiana that said, you shall not pass, government. And I wrote 4,500 religious exemptions for people all over this state. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even question it 1 second because it was the right thing to do. And I had people say, oh, wow, for safety, Pastor Micah, you obviously don't care about safety. I said, I care more about liberty than I care about safety. And I said, we all should too. And liberty is that important. Liberty is not man's idea, it's God's idea. And the moment you sacrifice safety, you deserve neither liberty nor safety. That was a quote that Ben Franklin said. And to me, it was that moment where I said, where are our government leaders? Now, to the legislative's credit, they couldn't do anything. The legislature couldn't do anything because the governor had to call them back into session, but the governor didn't do it. Why didn't the governor do it? Because he wanted to rule from fiat. He wanted to be a dictator. He wanted to not have accountability. I said, we've got to have accountability somewhere in this executive branch. And I said, I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna run for lieutenant governor so we can have transparency and we can have accountability. I will be the best team player for the Republican agenda and the Republican Party. I've been a Republican my whole life. I grew up in Hillsdale, Michigan, where the college is. I will champion the Republican agenda like nobody's business, as long as it's constitutional and it's conservative in its agenda. The moment you step out of line, then you got the lieutenant governor to deal with. And people will say, well, Micah, you're lieutenant governor, you can't do anything. Yeah, watch me. I can use influence. I know how to use the bully pulpit. I know how to get in front of a crowd of people. I know how to influence them towards what's true. Right now, we have a lot of people influencing towards what is not true. And I'm saying, as lieutenant governor, I will be a voice for you. Again, I will not back down. I'm not afraid of anyone in government. No one intimidates me. I am not somebody who cares to lose the job of being a politician. If I get into office and standing for what's right causes me to lose the job, so be it. I can go back just eating Moose Tracks ice cream, okay? Like I can go back being a pastor, but I will not stand before the Lord someday and say I didn't do anything. And so that's why I'm running for lieutenant governor. I'm a bold conservative. I am a constitutionalist. I'm asking for the delegate support. The way it works is delegates will go to the convention June 15th. So you get to vote for delegates May 7th. But when you vote for a delegate, or if you are a delegate, I'd love your support. But when you vote for delegates that will support constitutionalists, someone who's a conservative like myself at the convention. And then on June 15th, they'll go to the convention and you'll have the opportunity to nominate me to be on the ticket with the governor. And so that's how it works. In many years in Indiana, people have been telling me, they say, well, Micah, you know, the lieutenant governor, you don't run for lieutenant governor. Is this even legal? I had people in government for years ask me if this was even legal. I said, yes, it is. It's actually the way it was designed. And they said, we can do it this way? And they said, but the governor just has to, it's like a marriage. The governor should be able to pick his spouse. I said, excuse me, this is nothing like a marriage. This is exactly the opposite of marriage. This is accountability. The founders didn't even trust the government they were creating. Why? That's where checks and balances came from. We have to have accountability. And anytime you have a politician who's a yes man, that's a bad day for the people. We need people who can think independently, people who can recognize I work for the people and not for a politician. Now, again, I'm not a disruptor. I don't want to be a thorn in the flesh if I don't have to be. Again, I want to bring unity to the party. But at the same time, if I have to stand up and bring accountability, I will without a doubt. So that's why I'm running. So I'd love your support if you're a delegate. And if you know delegates that are running, go and vote for the ones that would support me at the convention on June 15th. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
There's free ice cream. There we go. See him afterwards. There you go.
Can we ask him to explain to us how he interacts with the state senate so we understand how important this is?
Okay, hurry. Yeah, really quick. Okay, hurry. Quick. All right, thanks, Mike. Okay, so I'm the president. I'd be the president of the Senate, right? And that has a lot of influence. You can help influence legislation. You cast a tie-breaking vote if there's a tie. So there's a lot of influence. You oversee the proceedings as the president of the Senate. So that's what I would bring, is influencing good legislation and helping to stop bad legislation. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tammy. All right, who's next, Bob? Commissioners, raise your hands. There's three. Let's do this. You get to call it, brother. It is tails. You're up. And that's how this works.
That's 3 tails in a row.
No, it was heads. There was a heads. This is Mr. Byers and a nice young man.
And I like tail, whatever. I'm going to just spread my notes out here a little bit and stuff like that. Yes, I am David Byers, a current county commissioner up for re-election. Tell you a little bit about me. I've been a 4-H volunteer for 43 years. Established a dairy leasing program, the first in the state. We deal with inner city kids. We bring them out how to learn about animals, how to train animals, how to be with animals. And we take them down to state fair and we take them to national shows with these kids. So we help train kids on that end of it. I'm also a member of the Roy Whistler Foundation. If you don't know about the Roy Whistler Foundation, it's money that is vainly invested in our natural resources, whether it be the niches or whether it be up in the around the celery bog, or you go up to Jasper Slough up there. They invest money in that part. I am kind of proud of our county. We are the 7th largest county in the state, but we have the lowest 1/3 of taxes in the state. So we're working with the money that we need to. I know right now you're probably saying, no, that ain't right, because my property taxes, I just got them. They're up there. But it's the assessed value of the properties that's gone up, and that's what brought them up. If you look at the rates of what it is from last year to this year, basically every rate stayed the same or down, other than one on my bill. Well, yeah, sure, yeah. We'll go that direction. So anyway, I do want to say, Commissioner, I know we want to hear about water, and I'm going to tell a little bit about water, but there are also other things we're in charge of. We have over 800 miles of roads that we're in charge of. In case you haven't looked at some of the roads, try driving Yeager Road, Klondike Road, some of the other roads. We are establishing safety. We're trying to get people off of walking on the roads and getting them so they're walking on trails or they're walking on sidewalks. So we're looking at that part of safety. We have over 800 miles of regulated drainage in this community. Drainage for, eliminate the drainage, take care of your things, farming, tile, all those parts. Where do you think we rate in the state on the square foot of bridges? We are the #2 state in Indiana on square footage of bridges because we got a lot of water, creeks, streams to cross over. Indianapolis beats us on that. Well, that's a lot of interpasses and overpasses on that part of it. If you look at our county budget, basically 70% of it goes to criminals. Plain and simple. The jail, everything in the courthouse, prosecutor, public defender. I mean, I can go on. Carry home, all that is 70% of our budget. So one of the things we did, if you didn't notice it here in the past, we expanded community corrections. We added mental health and substance abuse system. Hopefully we can help break the chain to keep them out of the jail. Are we gonna eventually have to build a brand new jail? Probably. But we're gonna try and delay it as much as possible before we get that jail. To build a brand new jail, you're basically talking $70 to $80 million. Easily. So we're trying, by helping the substance abuse and the mental health and trying to take care of people at community corrections, hopefully we break that chain before it gets to the jail, is what we're gonna have to do. So you're gonna have to offer these things out there. Let's see, I glanced at those things. All right. I am also a member of Farm Bureau. Anybody else members of Farm Bureau out there? Okay. Farm Bureau, in my opinion, is one of the #1 lobbyists in the state of Indiana because it comes from the people and it goes up. And they then take your suggestions, your thoughts, they then create policy. Farm Bureau's already come in and said taxes and water are their top 2 issues. That's what they're already doing. Because of your noise, our noise, together, we woke up Indianapolis. We woke up the Farm Bureaus, who's now working with the soybean allowance, working with the corn group. They're working together. We now have every legislator knows about water. So we're working together on that part of it. We had an interesting discussion with the IFA this morning. So the IFA has been very transparent with us. And I will put a web page address up here in due time. And they want to hear from you. If you received a survey from the IFA, did you throw it away because you didn't want Big Brother to know what you were doing? Or did you fill it out? Because they're looking at what is our water consumption? Not tomorrow, but also 50 years from now. So let's say, and I don't, if Carly's here, I didn't see her or whatever else, but let's say all of a sudden the Sheetses want to say, we might add another irrigation well. And we might not another irrigation well. And that might be 5 years. That might be 10 years. They want that information. These are things that are going on. You have the city of Lafayette On the south side, around Wheel School, back in that direction, they are in the process of getting ready to put in water and sewage to potentially open up 4,000 acres for development. We know we need the water. We understand it. I guess I was told at the beginning because I wasn't doing enough. Well, I don't have to be in the news. I don't have to be on TV every day say I'm not doing anything. I'm on that state water policy board at Farm Bureau. I could tell you some of the policies we're looking at right now. But when that gets done, that gets presented to every single legislator. And the vice president of Farm Bureau is also a legislator. So we're opening, our local legislators know, but we gotta get the 150 more out there knowing. And through the organization that I am, we're getting that 150 to know. I would appreciate your support. I enjoy this job. I enjoy working for the people. Commissioner's more than just water. We have a lot of other issues, but water is high on our list. Thank you for your support.
Jeff Finley.
Thank you. I still hate public speaking, but I do it because I think this is an important thing that we've been involved in for quite some time now. I actually have spent my whole life in Tippecanoe County. The first night of my life, I was born in Clinton County over in Frankfort, but nobody holds that against me. So having been raised and spent my whole life in Tippecanoe County, I've always enjoyed this county, and especially I moved at the age of 19. I moved out to Shadeland, and immediately I wanted to get involved in the community. So by the time I turned 20, I got on the volunteer fire department. Couldn't drive their trucks, even though I was licensed to drive, commercial license. And then when I turned 21, I enjoyed being on there, spent 12 years on there. Then went on to the Parks Department, volunteered there. Then I went on to the town council, and I think I served about 12 years on the town council, and then I became town council president for about another 12 years. So I've been in government for free, simply because I believe everybody should give back to their community. And this whole situation with the water, it got me mad, and it made me willing to speak out in public, which I hate. And I should mention that my wife was not crazy about me getting back involved again. I thought it was time that, you know, we could vacation and enjoy ourselves. And by the way, I've been married 54 years, or I should say, she has endured me for 54 years. So she knew my conscience, I could not just walk away from this. Now, the reason I'm running is pretty simple. I have a lot of expertise in water, and I am definitely very alarmed about all the things that can go wrong with this. And plus, it's just wrong that it really is your water. And for the state to come up here, buy a little chunk of property and say we can take the resources from that property and move it around into other parts of the state, and that is their plan. They're going to, they'll next hit Clinton County, because I know what the water resources are there too. They will take all the water that's available everywhere in the state, and they will move it to where it isn't. And they will squander it. Show me one state in the union that has not squandered water. And that's why they're all in trouble now. So I feel like it would give me more credentials and credibility if I was commissioner for fighting this. The other thing I feel like is the preemption of the state in local affairs, there's what they call home rule. And just like they worked out a really good ordinance to stop these puppy mills. State come in, said they can't do it. They worked hard on that. I am not really upset with local government. And as far as the way it's been run, I'm pretty happy with it. I am very, very mad about the state and IEDC in particular. And I just believe that as long as we're down here fighting and screaming, they're hearing us in Indianapolis. Now, the most important election, I don't believe, is local, although I'd like you to vote for me. I believe who goes to Indianapolis in the State House and who sits in the governor's office, everybody better do their homework, because that is very important. And if we can make enough waves down here and get the right people there, I believe we can make a difference. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Justin Pascal, real quick.
Sure. I won't. He'd come get me if I was, anyway.
I would.
There you go. Thanks, Mike. Well, thanks everyone for having me again. I'm Justin Pascal. I'm running for Clinton County Commissioner. I saw one Clinton County resident in here. Are there any more? There's 2, 3. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. So I've been married for 24 years this Monday. And yeah, thank you. I'm blessed to have her, that's for sure. I've got 2 kids, a 20-year-old son. He's finishing his last year at Ivy Tech. I've got a daughter that's a sophomore at Rossville High School. So I was encouraged to run for county commissioner by some business leaders there in Clinton County, some officials in Clinton County. Mike encouraged me to do it and offered me the time to run. And I have a few concerns. First of all, I noticed really quickly that there's a lot of Republicans, there's a lot of Democrats in Clinton County leadership disguised as Republicans. It's glaringly obvious. I thought, man, these guys are not what they say they are. And I got to meet some of them last week. I was at a Meet the Candidates event with, I believe Charles was there, in Frankfurt at the library. I got an opportunity to introduce myself, talk a little bit what I'm about. I'm just going to show you something here real quick, or read something to you. So every single one of the candidates that got up and spoke, most of them incumbents, by the way. There's a few folks that are running for election, but most of them are incumbents. Every single one of them stood up and told all of these people out in the crowd that they were against solar. We're gonna vote no to solar. But amazingly enough, there's a bunch of solar panels in Clinton County. So I don't know, these guys are against it. Maybe they've changed their minds, but this is interesting. I started researching solar because I knew it was going to be a big issue. And Hardy Hills Solar is owned by a company called AES. This took me 5 minutes to find out, by the way. The number one owner of AES at 54 million shares is a group called BlackRock. Has anyone heard of them? And now, this is interesting, and this is from CNN. BlackRock just happens to be currently, right now, as we speak, under investigation for investing $429 million across 5 companies from China that act directly against the interest of the United States. Okay, so if you think it's not in your backyard, it is. It's in Clinton County. It takes me 5 minutes to drive there and look at this absolute disgusting project that they've done. It's on both sides of 75, and it looks like a horror movie. So that's number one. Number two, there's some just real poor decision-making that's being done. A study was done, I think 3 or 4 months ago. The jail is at the end of its life. So I think that's something that's important. It needs to be looked at, right? We need to start to figure out a way how we're going to get this rebuilt. But instead, what they've decided to do is build a new building, a fancy new building, so the commissioners don't have to meet in the courthouse anymore, and the prosecutor. So I don't want to throw a bunch of stones here, but it's real simple. These guys are looking out for themselves. They're looking out for themselves. I don't care if I upset people that think that they're the kings of Clinton County. I've got plenty of friends. I'm very transparent about what my intentions are, and I hope that you would vote for me if you're from Clinton County for District 1 Commissioner. Tell all your friends, and I'm going to leave my phone number with Mike. If anyone has any questions for me, please feel free to call me, okay? Thanks a bunch.
My phone rings a lot. Don't call me. But call Justin. Thank you, Justin, very much. He's a nice young man. I've known him all his life, and he wants to help. So those of you in Clinton County, do like Mr. Bookwalter said, spread the word, right? One person, okay? We have county council, right? And so it's not Pearl, right? It's Britain now. It's Britain now. Okay, so I didn't know. Okay, so changed your name. That happens when you get married. So are you ready? Sometimes, yeah. At my house, we've got, oh, I know, that's right. Look, I'm not don't start throwing stones up here, okay? Come on up, young lady. Oh my gosh, here we go. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. As Mike said, my name is Paige Britton, and I am running for Tippecanoe County Council at large. Probably a new face to most of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak today. A little bit about myself. My family has farmed in Tippecanoe County for 100 years, and I hope to be the 4th generation to take over that farm, if I'm lucky. I am a proud Harrison and Boilermaker alumni. Final Four. And I have lived in this county my whole entire life. Like many of you here today, I decided to run because I saw some things happening that I didn't fully understand and I didn't agree with. And as I started to dig more into what I could do into the community, some members reached out to me and said, hey, why don't you start with county council? Why don't you start getting your boots on the ground? And so that is why I decided to run. So though I may not be acting at the state level, I'd like to share with you what I have planned for the county council, or what I hope to have planned for the county council. First and foremost, I really want to promote sustainable development practices. Let's stop looking at short-term gains and focus on the long-term growth of our community. Let's bring money into the community with our own community members. The next thing is that I believe in the power of responsive representation, which is another reason I really wanted to do this, because things were happening and I felt like no matter how much I commented or spread the noise and told a friend to tell a friend, that my voice still wasn't being heard. And I want to make sure that if I'm elected into office, that your voice can be heard and that you can feel free to reach out and talk to me, and that the community is making a difference in the growth. And then I also want to have a comprehensive planning approach. As I said, grew up, born and raised on a farm, and want to take over the farm. It's great that we live in a community that is growing, that is bringing dollars to this area, but I also want to be able to farm 20 years from now. And so I want to make sure that we balance the plans for the future of our community, and how can we grow in an urban way, but also keep our heritage and keep our farm ground. We have an opportunity together to construct a community that thrives economically while being fiscally responsible. I want to embrace the future with confidence, and I don't want to be afraid to ask why not or why and challenge the norms that we have today. I started this journey, and you'll see it on my signs. This is my home, and it matters to me, and I would appreciate your votes.
some good stuff. Okay, we have some other people that wanted to get up, and I'm looking for their hands and speak. Where are you? I don't see them. Yes, sir? You're fired. Oh, we have plenty of delegates here. I'd like for everybody to stand up delegate-wise so people can see them. And these are the people that I think Micah was talking about that get to put him in office, wherever he is. Okay, so look at these folks. These are the folks you want to get in touch with and shake their hands, okay? Yeah, he's doing an interview outside. Okay, there he is. These are all the delegates, okay? So mob him when you're done, okay? Pardon me? Precinct committeemen. Do we have, there they are, standing up. Precinct committeemen, okay? All right. Anybody at large, anybody else? Last going once, okay. Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for this time and this format. Bob Fox, I'm going to let him come up and chat with you. Yep. Yep. Right now. Yeah. Yep. We're going to have Jamie close us out. Wait, we got a question in the back. Hang on. Precinct committeeman, if you want to come up and give your name real quick. And yep, come on up real quick. Just file up here, say I am and who you are and what you are, just quick. And then we're going to have Jamie get us out of here in prayer. All right, and thank you all. Right, it doesn't matter. Come on. Here we go. You can be first, Tammy.
All right, thank you. I like to be first. I'm Tammy Murray, and I am running as a precinct committeeman for Sheffield 1, which is outside of Dayton, kind of a little donut area. And I'm also running for delegate for District 5, which includes a lot of area, but it's mostly on the south and to the east of Tippecanoe County.
Charles Bookwalter, U.S. 4th Congressional District, and Sugar Creek 1 Precinct Committeeman and Delegate.
Thank you.
Jim Shank, besides State House District 26, running for Precinct Committeeman Wabash 11, which is in the Wake Robin subdivision, just west of West Lafayette, just west of 231. I'm also running for State Delegate, and at the moment, I'm forgetting my district. Sorry.
No, I need my glasses.
Oh. Old people? Oh, no,
I'm proud to be an old person.
I'm old, wait a minute.
It took me a long time to get here, but I'm here. My name is Isabel Hogue. I'm running for Precinct Committeeman in Wabash 5. I've got cards, and I'm also running for delegate in District 6. That runs along the whole northern border of the county. And I'm also the president of the Tippecanoe County Republican Women's Club.
Jerry Rowe, Wabash 01 for Precinct Committeeman and Delegate both. And I got my truck there.
My name is Tim Vickerman. I'm running for both Delegate and Precinct Committeeman, and I'm for Union 1.
And I'm his wife, and I'm running for delegate also in Union 1, which is the Shadeland area.
What's your name?
Deb Vickerman.
Hi, I'm Cindy Pratt, running in District 4, which is south and west of the county. Precinct Committeeman, we at 10, which is like the Landings, Waterstone, and Southern View, that area.
Hi, I'm Matt Kell. I'm running for precinct committeeman for Wayne 1, the epicenter of the LEAP mess.
Hello, my name is Craig Hess. I'm running for delegate for District 2, the Fairfield area. Thank you.
I'm Yadira Salazar. I'm running for county treasurer, and I'm running for precinct committeeman, Sheffield 1, and delegate.
Frank Hannon, I'm running for precinct committeeman in Wabash 30, and I'm also running for state delegate in District 3, which is precincts in District 3 are Fairfield 1 and 2, Tippecanoe 5 and 6, Wabash 3, and 6 through 10, 12 through 14, 16, 26, 30, and 33. I'm losing a lot of weight.
Hi, I'm Mike Morse, running for precinct committeeman Fairfield 21. If you're in Fairfield 21, you've already either talked to me or got a card from me, and you'll be getting a postcard. And I'm also running for state delegate. Thank you, District 2, and I've already committed to support Micah Beckwith.
Angela Yost, I am running for delegate at large and precinct committeeman Wabash 16.
Brian Snyder, I'm with her. Delegate at large, if you're in Tippecanoe County, vote for me.
I'm Joe Sturm. I'm running for state representative, House District 41, and also convention delegate, District 5, Tippecanoe County.
The address that I just wrote up, which I'm going to, spelling or penmanship sucks. There you go. Anyway, www.in.gov/IFA/regional-water-studies/. That's the IFA website. That's where you can get on there. They have places where you can get on there and ask questions and things. So, like I say, if you want to copy it, they want to hear from you. I'm flat out telling you. Thank you.
Anything else you want to cover? Perfect. Young lady? Thank you.
Father God, we come to you right now because the Bible says that you hold the universe in the span of your hand, that you created the heavens with your fingers. Lord, we know that you are greater he that is in us than he that is in this world. We know that you see everything going on, that you're sovereign, that you're true, and that he who the Son sets free is free indeed. And so, Father, now we lean in. We ask that your Holy Spirit would empower us, as it says in your word, that we would go from strength to strength, that, Lord, you would take our loaves and fishes, and that you would do mighty things with those for your glory. We thank you, Lord, for this home that you've given us. We want to steward it well. And so we pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you. Make sure you talk to whoever you want to talk to. Delegates, thank you for your time, and we'll do this again.